What's happening, family? Dr. Joe here. Happy hump day, happy Wednesday evening. And I hope each of you are well and blessed. So good to see you guys on this evening. We are live. As you guys know, we're always a little bit early. It gives us time to settle in. It gives us time to get, in the location. You know what I'm saying? So everybody just gather on in. We'll take a few moments. I'm going to get everything I need situated. And then we'll go from there. It's about as simple as that. About as simplistico que eso. Simplequito que eso. Yes. Salute. My last bit of water for the day. I got to do 4 of these. I do one when I first wake up. I do another one right after my first meal. I do one while I'm in the office, and then I knock out one early evening, like before 6. Not that you asked, but I told you anyway. Good to see everybody. How's everyone feeling? I hope you guys are having a better week this week. Let me know in the comment section how you're doing, and we'll get started promptly at 5 p.m. Promptly at 5 p.m. That's PM for those of you who aren't hip. Let me go tell my children to hush. Girls, y'all gonna have to go to your rooms. You're too close and you're yelling and I can hear you, okay? And we're live again. My mind is playing tricks on me today, but so far I'm winning. Hey, I feel you. I feel you. Keep on pressing. Someone says, I'm feeling amazing. Great. Sayana Brown says, hello, Dr. Joe and family. It's been a fantastic week so far. That's great. Carla, salute to you. Good to see you guys. Kimberly Williamson says, doing well, sir. How are you? I'm doing great. Here the girls are doing. Yes, you can hear them. Gloria Jackson, she says she's feeling wonderful. Great. Cabrini Miles Hamilton, this journey is amazing. Awesome. All right. Feeling energized. Salute to Carla. All right. We'll get started promptly in a couple of minutes, gang. Good to see you guys. Come on in the room. We are here. We're here. We are here. Yeah. Fruit fast. Talk about a tongue twister. Fruit Fast Wednesday was awesome. I'm glad. Benita, salute to you. Today's devotional was just for me. Someone said, what's today? What day is today? 10. This is day 10, right? The devotion for today. Once the plane takes off, It begins to climb through masses of clouds. These areas of condensing water vapor are dense and they can create turbulence. You've taxied and taken off. Now you have a major obstacle ahead of you. In this instance, the clouds are initial obstacles that create turbulence on your flight to destination New You. Believe it or not, all obstacles you encounter will be in your mind. You will experience the desire to cheat or not adhere to your new lifestyle, a wandering mind not focused on your goals, fleeting excitement now that the newness is worn off. They will create turbulence. Don't allow them to scare you because they are nothing more than illusions created by your mind. Wow. The way to overcome them is to acknowledge them, yet refuse to allow them to stop you mid-flight. Turbulence can be rough and violent. However, planes were made to withstand the clouds. Similarly, you are made to withstand your obstacles. God made you strong and full of courage. However, it's your job to control your mind and make it think or see otherwise. Buckle up and embrace the turbulence. It doesn't last for very long. This was a great entry. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. Wow. That was a great post. We're 25% through, gang. Right? Can you imagine? Can you believe that? So it's 5 p.m. on the dot. I want to welcome all of you. Greetings to each of you. I'm glad to be here. I take every opportunity that I have to engage with you in this capacity as a blessed one. Number one, that I know that I'm doing what I have been sent here to do. And number two, that God has allowed me to be a steward over you in some type of way. I look upon my position in your life as one of spiritual responsibility for you to a certain degree. I think God sends people to our life to care for us in different types of ways. And I think that God sent you to me to you, for me to be a good steward over you. So to be a person who is in your corner, to be a person who loves you unconditionally, to be a person who's going to love you enough to make you upset, to be a person who desires to be committed to the process in hopes that you get as much value out of this as possible is something that I take very, very seriously. So whenever I have the opportunity to be in your presence and you mine, I like to take full advantage of it. I do not take it lightly, and I want you all to understand that. I want to take some time to give a big shout out to my amazing team, Steph, Lisa, Dee Dee, my amazing wife, Lynette, Fred out in the distribution department, who is doing a great job and has done a great job. I want to give a big shout out to all of them. Next, I want to give a big salute to my leaders, my coaches, my super leaders, my ambassadors, each of you who are in leadership and upper leadership, salute to you. So let's pivot. Let's pivot to tonight. What is tonight? Hold on one second, gang. So tonight, let me give. I got to give some backstory. So sometimes when I'm going through the process, I will be given inspiration to talk about things, to discuss certain subject matters. Sometimes things come up in the news that prick a fancy for me to further and investigate, you know, things of that nature. And when I say that, I'm talking about things that are outside of the span of the programmatic elements. Both the 40-day turn up and the Journey 3.0 have programmatic things that I know I'm going to teach. I know I'm going to do our meeting at the growth sessions every Saturday at 1, or if it's a master class for the 40-day turn up. But there's sometimes things come up and it needs further attention. And this is one of those things. Now, I've got to provide a precursor for you as it relates to this, and that is, this subject matter isn't an easy one, but I think it's a necessary one, and it's going to be a lot of things that are going to spawn from this, and over the next course of the next days, and by hopefully Saturday, you'll know more about that. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. This should be an hour presentation. I'm going to try not to take up too much time, but I'm ready to get started. If you are driving in your car, if you are moving, if you're traveling, I do not recommend you listening to this. I recommend you watching this when you can be seated and really go through. And then if you want to listen to it on, listen to it later, then of course you can. So that's what I'm want to do. So who's ready to get started? Let me know in the comment section. If you're ready to rock and roll, let me know. Also, let me know if you can still hear and see me clearly. I know it sounds redundant, but it's always better to get, to be sure that you can hear. Let me know if you can see and hear me clearly. I want to be certain that you can. All right. Great. Now, I know that I told you guys that the name of this presentation is Preparing for Your Marginal Decade. I've never talked about this. Most of you probably don't even know what a marginal decade is. It's not necessarily something that you hear each and every day. So the first thing that I want to do is to answer the question, what is a marginal decade? What is a marginal decade? A marginal decade is the decade of time that you leave this world. It's whatever decade that once you've lived your life, you're called home to be with the Lord. I know that sounds morbid. I know you may be turned off. Bear with me. I know you may be sitting up here saying, I know he's not sitting up here talking about death. Well, in order to be clear, that's what a marginal decade is. And guess what? All of us have a marginal decade. It's marginal because it's the decade. It's the 10-year span that your death occurs within. That's why it's called the marginal, not the marginal year, the marginal decade. Okay? If you follow me so far, let me know in the comment section. I know. Now, this is a very, very, very difficult subject because people don't like to talk about mortality. People don't like to talk about when I'm dying. But I think that if you hear me out, that it can be a positive conversation that by the time we finish, you will feel better about it if you hear me out. So again, a marginal decade is the decade that your death occurs in. And guess what? All of us have one. Now, when you think about it, most folk are going to check out assuming there's no car accident, no terminal illness, no freak accident, or something that was unforeseen. Most people are going to check out in decades 7, 8, or 9. In your 70s, average age is about mid 70s, 80s, if you're blessed, 90s if you're super blessed, and then anytime above that, you're just in like 1 percentile or less. Most of us. Now, being that you know what a marginal decade is, and being that you get what I'm talking about, listen to what I'm saying in my title. I said preparing for your marginal decade. I'm not sitting up here saying let's prepare for the day we die. But no, the essence of this presentation is how can each of us prepare ourselves for our marginal decade. Now, the reason why this is important is because a question arises. Some people, many people are trying to live as long as they can. Is that what you want? I'm not asking you necessarily about the decade and the day, but what I want you to answer for me is, what do you want your marginal decade to look like? Think about that. When people were asked this question, I'm going to go over with you the 4 most common things that they said. And not only am I going to go over the 4 more common things that they said, but I'm going to break down to you what it takes for us to manifest these things in our marginal decade. Again, people were asked, what do you want your marginal decade to look like? Now, I'm going to ask you that. What do you want to be able to do in your last 10 years of life? How do you want it to look? And this is a question that we never ask ourselves. We start having retirement questions. How old can I be when I retire? How much money do I need to retire? Where do I want to live when I'm 60, when I'm 70? What house do I want to live in? What do you want your life to look like in your marginal decade? Because if we can define what that looks like, we can back into it now. Now, I'm going to go over with you all the top 4 things that people said. And I believe that these 4 things are things that all of us want. And then when I tell you what each of them are, I'm going to break down what it takes for us to manifest that. If you're following with me, let me know in the comment section. I'm clear, Dr. Joe. I'm clear, Dr. Joe. I'm clear, Dr. Joe. I'm clear. I'm clear. Look, you all are all automatically saying these things. I want to have a sound mind and body. Yes. 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 Sound mind. Yes. Yes. All right. Now, when this question was asked to people, fascinating. Watch this. the first thing that people said is they want to have independent movement. Meaning what? When my marginal decade, I don't want to have to walk on a cane. I don't want to have to move around on a scooter. I don't want to have to use a walking apparatus. And I don't want to be in no wheelchair. Independent movement. These people said, I want to be able to walk my dog when I want to go. I want to be able to walk on the trail. I want to be able to walk in the airport. I don't want to have to get on a plane and need a wheelchair. Lord have mercy. When I think about that, I know I'm in that number. You know, I don't mind having gray hair. I don't mind looking like I'm, getting older. I don't mind any of that. But when I get in my marginal decade, I want to have independent movement. I don't want nobody to have to grab me on my arm. I don't want that. I don't want a cane. I don't want a scooter. I don't want to be one of those people in the supermarket who can't get around. I'm not saying anything discriminatory about people who are in wheelchairs. I'm not saying anything discriminatory about people who need canes. I'm not looking down on anybody who needs those things. But let's be selfish for a moment. I want to have independent movement in my marginal decade. Do I have anybody that stands with me on that? Now, you see, your mind is already shifting because you've never been posed with this question. You've never been to the point to where you've had to ask yourself, what do I really want? Because the issue with the marginal decade, we don't know when it's coming, but you realize when you're in it. And the problem is when you start having this conversation, when you are in your marginal decade, guess what? It's too late. What does it take for us to have independent movement in our marginal decade? Number one, balanced nutrition. It has to be a diet that is consistent of protein and plant-based. One of the most common causes of elderly people who fall are brittle bones. It's a micronutrient problem. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. And you can't supplement yourself to this. You can't sit around, eat crap food, and take you a multivitamin and think that when you get to your marginal decade that you're going to have strong bones. No, it revolves around the lifestyle that all of us are initiating in our lives right now. A balanced nutritional profile when I'm eating plant-based, protein-forward foods that nourish the bones. My God, thank you for this. Now, the American diet, watch this, promotes inflammation in the body. The American diet promotes inflammation in the body. The stuff that they feed our children, the things that you get on the way to work, the machines that are at your job, the quick gas stations that you buy quick food, that folk get these quick food items, these processed foods. the things that they feed our elderly are all things that substantiate the exorbitant manifestation of inflammation in the body. So if all of us, watch this, have been raised on all these foods, look at all the boxes, look at all the packages, look at all the margarines, the pizzas, the hot dogs, the hamburgers, the cookies, the cakes, the breakfast sausage, the breakfast bacons, the pancakes, the Eggo waffles, the breads, the rices, all the stuff that all of us have been raised on are setting us up to be immobile in our marginal decades. Now, inflammation degenerates bones, ligaments, and tissue, which what leads to what? Immobility. This has to be one of the best. It has to be. God, this is such a needed subject matter. Lord, thank you for thinking enough of me to give me this idea to share it with the people. Inflammation degenerates bones, ligaments, and tissues, which lead to what? Immobility. People who have any type of autoimmune disease are people who are in a state of inflammation. What are common autoimmune disorders? Lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Graves' disease, psoriasis, and type 1 diabetes. Lupus is nothing more than systemic inflammation. The diet that we have been exposed to, the lack of natural foods, the lack of high quality proteins from plants or animals, the low ratio of omega-3s, the high occurrence of sugar, flour, processed foods create inflammation, which degenerates bones, tissues, and tendons. The way we eat in our 20s, our 30s, and our 40s is making us not only die sooner, but immobile as we reach our marginal decades. So the first thing that we need, if we say we want to be mobile in our old age, elder years, we have to have a balanced, plant-based, protein-forward, nutritional profile. Like you have been taught to eat. Do you follow me? Let me know in the comment section if you understand this. The first thing that it takes, if you say you want to be independent in your mobility, we have to have proper nutrition, plant-based, protein-forward eating, high quality proteins that's either coming from animals or coming from legumes, grains, and vegetables. What else do we need to have independent mobility? Watch this. Daily movement. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to teach you are going to overlap in the different segments. Daily movement is preferable. The more you move now, the less you will need assistance in your marginal decade, the more you move now. The less assistance you will need in your marginal decade, the more you move now. The less assistance you will need in your marginal decade, the more you move now. The less assistance you will need in your marginal decade. The people who live the longest, blue zones, Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Greece, Loma Linda, California. There's a place in Italy and one more. These centurion communities called blue zones, where people averagely lived above 100. They had plant-based diets. They didn't smoke. They didn't eat processed foods. And one of the things that was synonymous is they got exercise every day. So our problem is our thinking. Dr. Joe, I want to work out every day, Dr. Joe. You sit up here thinking I'm trying to get you to do something for no reason. You've never seen the full spectrum of what I'm trying to get you to see. The conditioning of the body, the constant movement, the constant walking, the constant running, the constant lifting, the constant exercise, hula hooping, skating, weightlifting, training, trap cardio, whatever it is that you do, you are conditioning your body. You are preparing yourself to not need a cane, a wheelchair, or a scooter. You're doing it now. Every day that you get up, that the Lord lets you breathe, you need to be getting some exercise in them 24 hours. Thank you to this person: Okinawa, Japan; Sardinia, Italy; Nicoya, Costa Rica; Icaria, Greece; and Loma Linda, California. These are the 5 blue zones. Thank you, whoever you are. I can't see your face, but thank you, because these are they. Come on, how many of y'all want independent mobility when you get in your marginal decade? Come on, say it again. I want to be independent. Who wants it? In the comment section. Come on. Who wants independent mobility in your marginal decade when you get up in years? Come on, who? I know I do. Me. The first thing I got to do, I got to understand I got to eat right. Dr. Joe, that makes sense. Why in the world would I expect to be able to eat crap food and then not be bent over, hunched over, in a wheelchair, having a cane? What that makes perfect sense, Dr. Joe. It makes perfect sense that if I'm eating healthy, God-made foods, that I'm nourishing my body from the inside out. Makes perfect sense, Dr. Joe. I get it completely. Dr. Joe, I also get it that moving daily, it strengthens me. The more I exercise, the more I move, the more I'm engaging myself in proper exercise, the better I'm going to be as I get older. Makes sense, Dr. Joe. But I got another one. And I'm still on the first one. The third thing we got to do, if you want to be independently mobile, you have to attain a healthy BMI. Oh, it's making sense to you now, ain't it? When the last time you saw an old obese person? Huh? Think about all the old people you ever seen. How many of them were obese? I'll wait. This is why we got to be the gut and butt busters. Obesity today will be immobility tomorrow. Put that on the t-shirt. Obesity today will be immobility tomorrow. Obesity today will be immobility tomorrow. You cannot age and get bigger. It doesn't work like that. Now, many of you may be saying, Dr. Joe, okay, I've lost 50 pounds. I've lost 40 pounds. I've lost 60 pounds, but I'm still not where I need to be. Don't panic. Play the long game. You got the key. You have the blueprint. So even if it takes you another 6 months, even if it takes you another 12 months, even if it takes you another 10 months, even if it takes you another 4 months to hit your healthy BMI, if it doesn't inspire you to say, if I get to this point, this is going to help me live the life that I want in my marginal decade. This is what's going to keep me playing with my grandchildren. This is what's going to keep me active. This is going to keep me to where I don't have to walk assisted. This is what's going to keep me from being able to live the life I want to live. So let me motivate myself to get my BMI under control. You want independent mobility movement? Balanced nutrition. Daily movement. Healthy BMI. Second thing people said, y'all ready for the next one? Let me know in the comment section. You ready for the next one? You ready for the next one? Let me know in the comment section. The first one people said is independent. I want to be able to walk without a cane. No wheelchair. Second thing people said, I want good cognitive function. I want to be in my right mind. Lord have mercy. I don't want Alzheimer's. I don't want dementia. I don't want mental decline. This subject matter is a sensitive one because there are so many of you watching me right now. You are caring for someone in your family who has cognitive decline. It is one of the worst diseases ever because it takes the soul of the person slowly, and everyone around them suffers. Because you have to watch your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, somebody that you love, die before they die. It's a horrible thing to be in the presence of your mother, of your father, of your grandmother, of your grandfather, of a loved one, and they look you in the face and don't recognize you. It's a crushing blow to see someone with cognitive decline that you love can't find the bathroom, get lost, become helpless. It hurts. news is this. Everybody watching me now, you're in your right mind. And our objective should be, I may not be able to get mama and daddy out of it. I may not be able to reverse how it took granddaddy's life and grandmama's life. But I'm going to do everything in my power that when I get in my 80s and 90s and hopefully in my hundreds, that God will allow me to die with a sharp mind. I'm going to do something about it. So what does it take for us to have a sound mind in our marginal decade? Number one, most important thing, diabetes must be reversed. Diabetes must be reversed. I know you ain't never heard this. You will not have a sound mind. You will not have healthy cognitive function if you have diabetes now and you don't reverse it. Because when you have that metabolic malfunction, the high amount of blood sugar in the arteries damages the arteries, constricting the arteries, which exacerbates the cognitive decline. You cannot have diabetes. You got to reverse it, and you can. Many of you already have. Type 3 diabetes, if you look it up, it's called Alzheimer's. Because the hardening of arteries in the brain constricts the arteries. So the neural pathway of the brain becomes constricted by the plaque that's on the brain that is created by the malfunctioning or the causations of diabetes. This is what causes the cloud, the slowness, the delayed reaction, and the perpetual degeneration of the person. People sleep on diabetes because it's so treatable. And so many of you who've come through the 40-day turn-up, you either reversed it or you lowered. Now, I know a lot of people. Actually, one of my best coaches tagged me on Instagram during live TV and gave her testimony as to how her A1C is now at a healthy range. All she is doing is laying the foundation Gang, I'm back. Internet went completely out, but we're back on. I apologize. I'm going to keep on going. I'm not going to. It happens. I'm sorry. Let me know if you all can see and hear me. I'm going to keep pressing. I'm going to keep pressing forward, gang. I don't know what happened and went out. It's just one of those things. If it happens again, we'll address the issue then. Hopefully, we're good to go. All right, now let's go back. Now, we have to reverse diabetes. So the story that I was telling you is about one of my best coaches who got her A1C back to where at a healthy rate. We have to, ladies and gentlemen, reverse diabetes. You will not have a pleasant marginal decade with diabetes. It's not going to happen. So for those of you who've improved your A1C, great. But you need to reverse your diabetes. I was talking to someone and he was so excited that his A1C went from a 12 to a 9. I said, that's still too high. You don't have time to celebrate. That's like somebody saying, hey, I was 600 pounds, now I'm 500. Well, you're still morbidly obese. You have to have healthy metabolic function if you want cognitive clarity in your marginal decade. What else is needed to have good, healthy cognitive function? Here it comes. Look at the overlap. Movement. One user says, no diabetes med since the beginning of the 4-day journal. Congratulations to you and all of you who did that. Salute to you. When you old, when you in your 80s and 90s in the creek, you remember Dr. Joe. You remember all the times that I called you gut and butt and you got mad, and you're going to be in your right mind, walking, slim and trim, saying, I'm so glad Dr. Joe called me a gut and butt. Salute to Marquita. She says, my A1C is back in the normal range. My doctor's mind was blown. It's possible. Congratulations. Now, y'all know me. I can't just sit up here and say movement because we said that in the first one. But I'm going to bring a full spectrum of how movement impacts cognitive function. Do y'all follow me in the house? Let me know if you follow me. Let me know if you follow me. Let me know in the comment section if you follow me. Yes, sir. The devil is mad. Got the internet all jacked up. Now, there is a type of dementia, because Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. You got different types of dementia. Alzheimer's is a type. It's like if you got the parent thing here, dementia, Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. There's another type of dementia called vascular dementia. Vascular dementia. Okay? Vascular dementia occurs basically when the brain lacks proper circulation. This is why a lot of Alzheimer's patients and dementia patients have hypertension, and dementia. So you can see how the circulatory system is connected to brain function. See, vascular dementia is basically when the brain does not have the proper amount of blood flow because of impingements like hardening of the arteries in the brain. There's one thing all of us die from: apoxia. Apoxia. A means the absence. Poxia, oxygen. Apoxia is when oxygen is not present. We all die from apoxia, whether it's stroke, whether it's heart attack, whether it's a blood clot. The ultimate form of death is the absence of oxygen. Movement through the circulatory system allows circulation of the blood and movement of the immune system to circulate through the body. The lymphatic system, or the sewage of the body, can take all of the contaminants out of the body. All of these things are improved through exercise. Getting the heart rate up, exercising, working out, being consistent keeps my brain filled with oxygen. If you want a sharp mind, you cannot be a lazy gut and butt now. You cannot be one of those individuals that puts your hair over your heart. I know people who don't want to work out because it's going to sweat out their weave. I bind that spirit. Get your behind to moving. Everything that I'm teaching you should help hit even harder when you're seeing it from this context. Reversing diabetes requires healthy cognitive function. In my marginal decade, movement. But watch this. Mental engagement. You have to engage your mind. You have to read. You have to be active. You have to push yourself to do things that require your brain to engage. When you retire, you can't just sit around and do nothing. Your life still has to have purpose, where you're solving problems, where you're addressing issues, where you're having to think critically, where you're having to use judgment, where you're having to conceptualize things. So when you retire, a lot of people decline after they retire because they're not activating their brains. I get you happy to retire. I know if you're a teacher, if you're a police officer, if you're a doctor, if you're an attorney, yeah, I get it. But you have to use your mind. You got to stay engaged. And by the time you get to the daycare, the adult daycare facilities, by the time you get to when you are in your marginal decade, you can't start it then. You have to be a mental juggernaut. And I'm not talking about a rocket scientist, but you have to be a person that's always doing something that engages your mind right now. Dementia is something that is hard to reverse, and it's a lot easier to avoid. Reversing diabetes, you have to have healthy metabolic system. You've got to move for circulation. You have to engage your mind. If you follow me in the comment section that you follow me, let me know, 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 let me know. Watch this. Sexual function. I know that's right. This is what people said. Don't you love that animation? I love it. And if you're offended, then I don't know what to say. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody who wants to be getting it on in your older age. And furthermore, these are questions that people said that was important to them. So the question is, if this is something that's important to you in your marginal decade, how do we get there? What's important? Balanced hormones now. Sexual function as we age revolves around the functionality of hormones. The first thing I can do to balance my hormones is, guess what? Lower my body fat. The less body fat you have, the less estrogen dominant you're going to be. Excessive amounts of estrogen affect women. Painful menstruation process, fibroids, certain cancers, early menopause. This is all hormone based. When a woman has balanced hormones and she's not estrogen dominant, it helps her exist in a more healthy state of not only when she's in her childbearing years, but as she exits her childbearing years. Men, one of the biggest destroyers of masculinity is estrogen. Men are too obese, too much body fat. They got breast, low sperm counts, erectile dysfunction. They can't function properly because the hormones are off. Men need balanced hormones. We need to lower our body fat. We need flat stomachs. You need to be lifting weights. The squat increases male testosterone production more than any other compound movement. Every man needs to be lifting. and woman, but specifically for this case. When your hormonal function is not balanced, you get weak and brittle as you get older. And your sexual function will be compromised. That's the first thing that has to happen if you want to have a sex life in your marginal decade. Balancing hormones. And this particular conversation can be a whole different one. Number two, watch this. Drug assistance. Now, I know you're looking at me saying, well, why do I need drug assistance? Now, listen. Viagra, Cialis are medications that were designed for older individuals in good health. The problem is it's being abused by young men. Viagra was developed by Pfizer because they stumbled across something while studying a medication that was used for heart patients. As they were studying heart patients, they saw that one of the side effects of the medication was an erection. They went back, studied it, tweaked it, put it on the market, and they made trillions of dollars. But what's happening is a lot of men take this and end up having strokes. One of the things that's needed if you want to have a sex life in your marginal decade is you have to have a healthy cardiovascular system. So if you need drug assistance, you can handle it without it killing you. Does that make sense? When these men get in their like 60s, 50s, and 60s, they got these big stomachs, they got high blood pressure, and they taking Viagra, you asking to stroke out. So what I'm saying is, as you get older, if you're in your 80s and your 90s, you may need something to help you out. But what I'm saying is you can't have drug assistance if your cardiovascular system has been compromised. Am I making sense? Next thing is you have to eliminate hypertension now. You are not going to have a sex life having high blood pressure. Why? Because hypertensive medications mitigate sexual function. That's why men don't like to take it. I know I'm up in the house tonight, Jack. One of the major reasons why men do not like hypertensive medication is because it mess up your tallywhacker. Ben said, Rev, I'd rather stroke out than for it to mess that up. Now, I'm not saying I agree, but I understand. You have to eliminate hypertension because the arteries and the flow of blood and its restriction is what's creating the circulatory problem. The brain needs oxygen. The heart needs oxygen. And your tallywhacker needs oxygen. Am I in the house on tonight? So just like it's important to reverse diabetes for cognitive health, if you are planning on having any kind of sex life in your marginal decade or even in the next decade, you have to reverse hypertension and get off of those pills. You need healthy blood flow because that's what's going to get you what you need. What do people say they want? Independent mobility. I want to walk without a cane. I want to be able to walk without a wheelchair. I want to be able to walk without a scooter. Healthy cognitive function. I want to be in my sound mind. I want to be in my 80s and 90s sharp. Understanding, engaging. 3, I want a good sex life. Isn't it amazing how all the things that people say ain't got nothing to do with money, cars, clothes, that it comes down to the fundamental desires of we as people? I just want to be able to enjoy life. Last thing people said that they wanted, watch this, and I'm done. Independent living. I don't want to be in no home. I don't want to be in no nursing home. I don't want my children to have to worry about taking care of me. I don't want to be dependent on somebody. People said this, and especially caretakers who are caring for people. Not that they don't care about the people that they're caring for, but when they see how a lot of individuals who need care are helpless, they say, I do not want to be a burden on. That's how I feel. I don't want my children to have to take care of me. I do not want my children to have to take care of me. I don't want my wife to have to take care. I don't want that. And I know many of you feel the same way. I want to be able to live in my house. And if I got to have some things to come out, fine. I do not want to be in no nursing home. I don't want that. And you know what? I would imagine you don't want it neither. I want to be able to get to go outside my own house, my backyard. I want to be able to cook my own breakfast. I want to be able to exercise. I want to be able to do all the things. I want to live independently. It's important for me. What does it take? I'm so glad. I'm going to need another 20 minutes. The first thing that is needed, if you want independent living, you ain't never heard this. Watch this. Strong lower extremities. Strong lower extremities. Your legs, bones, and lower extremities must be well conditioned. We do this by what? Movement and what? Strength training. Do you know that one of the most common signs that a person is going into a nursing home when they start falling? And if I got nurses or elderly caretakers, they will tell you this. This is important. You got to have a strong base if you want to live independently. Your legs, your bones have to be conditioned. We do this by movement and strength training. The second thing that you have to have if you want independent living in your marginal decade is, watch this, mobility. Watch how people cannot even stand up, bend over and touch their toes. You'd be surprised how many people in their 30s and 40s cannot do that. You'll be surprised how many people can't do a body squat. You'll be surprised. I'm talking about young folk. Their knees pop. This is a sign of what's going to happen to you. This is why nursing home, this is why when you have assisted living facilities, that's one of the best developing investments because they are sold out before they even built. You got to be able to bend. You have to be able to move. You have to have dexterity. The older we get, the more intentional mobility work needs to be. As people get older, you'll see their posture change. They become more and more hunched. Muscles tightening, not firing properly because they didn't condition themselves. You have to be mobile. You got to be limber. And we'll talk about this because it's a lot of things about this presentation that deserve their own presentation. What else do we need? Watch this. To do that, functional training. Salute to Donna. This is Donna's picture. When I look and I saw this woman doing a bent over row with weights. This is called functional training. And that ain't lightweight. The bar is probably 40 pounds. That's probably 135 pounds. That's called functional training. That's a bent over row. She's working delts, traps. What motion does that function? Picking up a child. Maybe a grandchild. Picking up groceries. Picking up paint. Picking up something off the floor. You got to train yourself if you want to be independent in your living when you get older. That's called functional. This corrects bad posture, strengthens the hips, the quads, the knees, the ankles, the feet. These are requirements for independent living. We have to start diversifying. Diversify. Did I spell that right? Who knows? We got to diversify our training. Now, what I'm about to go over with you is how our training needs to be diversified. Number one, you need strength training, lifting weights to engage the muscles, the biceps, the triceps, the traps, the delts, the calves, the quads. Yes, that's important. But another form of training that we need is what? Cardiovascular. Running, jumping, jump rope, cycling, swimming. And the last thing that we need is mobility, stretching, Pilates. When you put all three of these together, you have functional training. Taking weights in front of you, right? Coming out of a chair with the weight above your head, the kettlebell. What am I doing? What am I simulating? Getting in a car. Getting out the car. Going to church. Going to the baseball game. Watch this. On the plane, picking up my bag. I don't want to be an old, feeble man. Can't put my bag up there. No disrespect and no discrimination against an elderly person who needs help. But I'm saying I don't want to be that. I want to be in my 80s, being able to put my own bag up. But in order for me to do it, I got to start now. Because I know what I want my marginal decade to look like. All of these things are important. And functional training automatically engages the abs. So you don't have to sit down there and do crunches. You can do other exercises that naturally engage the core. I'm closing. overall key is this. The older we get, the less high intensity training, heavy weights we need. Why? Because just like you age, your tendons age, your joints age, your knees age. The foundation of your marginal decade is created, watch this, decades before. The foundation of your marginal decade is created decades before. The foundation of your marginal decade is created decades before. The less you feel you need this because you're young, the more you can get out of it if you make this a lifestyle now. And for those of you who are already in your late 70s, 80s, 90s, congratulations for having great genes. And for the mere fact that you made these adjustments, guess what? You're going to not only prolong your life, but you're going to increase whenever your marginal decade is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my complete honor to present this needed information. I hope you've received it. I hope it has helped. I hope it's caused you to look upon what we are dealing with in a different type of way. I got so much more stuff to share with you as it relates to this, but I want to give a couple more days of breathing for us to come back up on this. For those of you who've had your fruit fast, congratulations. For those of you, your fruit fast is tomorrow, Friday, and or Saturday. Great. Let's get ready to start our second assignment to get it turned in no later than Friday by midnight. You need to be starting on it probably now, sometime on tomorrow. I'll remind you as I've done every week. We got our next weigh-in on Saturday, okay? And I'm going to have more information for you. And listen, man, we got our third growth assignment, which is stupid. It's just stupid. It's just completely crazy. It's going to be Saturday at 1. This has been the best journey class ever in terms of my enjoyment. But I want to be able to see those numbers from this weekend to be certain that we kicked it in line. I want to see that. So let's be certain that we're doing what we're supposed to do, gang. Love each of you. Shout out to my amazing team. Shout out to all my leaders and coaches and upper leadership. Have an amazing evening, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, blessings, and love.